Okay, so we've talked about the first two keys, one being that we need to feed ourselves. The second is that we need to uh, make a routine of feeding our children, the Word of God and prayer. The third thing I want to talk about is your individual children. One thing I know is that there is no children that are like each other. Every child is unique and different. When we had our first child, we thought, oh, she's so perfect, she's so great. And then we had our next child, and we thought, oh, he's so perfect, he's so great. And they're totally opposite. And then the third one came along, and we thought, oh, wow, he's so unique and opposite too, and he's so great. And the fourth one, the same thing. No two children are alike. And if you have more than two children, you know that or if you have two children or more, you know that they are unique and they are individual as individual can come. So the third thing I want to talk about is training up your children in the way that they should go. And what I mean by that is it is our responsibility as a parent to point them in the right directions that God has prepared for them individually. Of course, we know there's things, the Lord wants for our children. He wants them to be, not to get into worldly things, and He wants them to love Him and honor Him and to follow all of His laws and His commandments and have a relationship with Him. Of course, we know the Lord wants that for every child. But specifically, what I'm talking about is that each of your children have been placed here on this earth with a unique gift, a unique calling that is individual as they are. Every child is different. I know some parents who they try to put every one of their children into the same box, and they try to cookie cutter them to the same shape. That's not going to work. Okay, if you have small children, you're trying to do that, you're going to find out that there's going to be a lot of chaos in your home. If you have older children, you're trying to do that, you're going to have a lot of resentment because they're not going to be able to be like each other. If you have a A+ stars child and you're expecting all your children to be A+ children, as far as like their education, they get A+, and then the next child comes along and they struggle and they're a C student. You say, well, why are they, some parents want to say, well, you just don't study like your brothers and sisters. Don't do that. Okay. What I have learned, especially being a homeschool mom, is that my children are as unique as their fingerprints are. I have some children whose studying comes very, very easy to them. I have some children that daydreaming comes very, very easy to them. And so for each one of those, their grades reflect what's going on in their minds. At the end of the day, the grade is not going to make the child. It's not going to be the thing that's most important in their life, what grades they got. The most important thing in your child's life is the character you're building, the love you're sharing, the atmosphere you're creating for them to express what God has placed in them. I'll give you a little example. My oldest daughter cannot be as more opposite than me. I'm a very analytical thinker. I love teaching. I love line by line studying. She's a free spirit that loves creating. She's artsy is what I call her. She is the most artistic person I know. When she was 13 years old, she was doing photography, and she does amazing pictures. She still is kind of in a stage where she loves makeup. Even though she doesn't wear makeup, she loves trying different techniques on other people and dressing them up and doing glamour makeup and things like that. She loves everything girly, pink. I always say that God gave me her because He knew I need a little pink in my life, and she was it. So she's not like me. And in the beginning, I had a hard time homeschooling her because I thought, well, we'll just do like, this is what the book says, and just do it like that. And she was like, I don't understand. And I couldn't understand because when I was a child and I had the same book and I had the same instruction. I just did it. I didn't realize that my brain worked different than her brain, and she needed to be taught a different way. And so at the beginning, she was my first child or my first homeschooler, and we struggled until I learned I need to teach her the way God's made her. And so when I started doing that, she started to flourish and she began to open up and things began to click for her. And now she's 17 and she's just a beautiful young lady who's growing into an amazing woman of God. And she has expressed certain things throughout her childhood that I've watched and I've listened. And I know she has a heart for missions. I know that she has a heart for people. Her heart breaks for certain people. I wouldn't say she was necessarily a children's worker, but she will minister to no matter if it's a child or an adult. But she does really well with teenagers, and that's what she is right now. But she's able to go in there and minister to them and teach them because she's so far ahead of her in her spiritual walk with the Lord than they are. And so she's being able to use what she knows to help them out. And so for her, we're pointing her in a direction that we can see the Lord's called her to, and that is the ministry. And so we have made sure that we have helped her find opportunities that will help for her. Now, our second child, he is very much like me. Something on the lens. He's very much like me. And so for him, homeschooling was easy, and it just clicked, and he's really, really smart, and he makes me mad because he can do everything really, really fast and get good grades. And I'm like, okay, well, you can't spend the rest of the day not doing anything. You got all that work done, all this. What are you going to do the rest of the day? And so very opposite, very different. Schoolwork comes very easy to him, and then he wants to go do his thing. One thing I have learned about him is that he loves to invent. He was 5 years old. He was making fishing lures. How many kids do you know will sit around and think how to make a fishing lure? And he loves working with tools. And so he goes through these stages where he wants to invent. He also likes shooting. And so he's always modifying. First, he was modifying Nerf guns and learning how they shot inside and what kind of springs they had. So he upgraded and made them better and bigger. And that's just him. He's like this little tinkerer. I call him my tinkerer. And he give him tools, and he has a blast. So there's things that in him that I can already see that he's geared toward. He's also he is a very good shooter and very accurate. If any kid of mine that I would say would be designed for the military, it would be this one. And so we're praying, and we are asking God, okay, what is his plan and purpose, and how do we help him toward that? So that's what I'm talking about, finding out what your individual kids' giftings are within them and pointing them to that. My second son, but my third child, he's completely opposite of my other son. This kid loves Legos. He loves building. He's the only child I have that actually will keep his room clean and organized. And so I know that his giftings and talents are as unique as he is, and they're different from the rest. So as he's growing, we're watching and we're saying, okay, what kind of opportunities should we help him find? Each one of them grows toward their own path. They each have been called to their own destiny, and it's different from each other. And as long as you are lifting them up and praising them for what is in them, they don't have to feel like they're in competition with one another. I don't want my daughters to look at each other and say, well, I need to be like you because mom said, because she's always saying how good you are, so I got to be like you. No, I try to tell my other daughter who's 9, she is beautiful and she's creative, and she is completely opposite of her oldest sister. and she's the middle child right now, so she's completely opposite than the baby sister now. And sometimes that can get a little hard because she's looking at what's happening with the oldest and with the youngest, and she's thinking, what about me? And I've learned as a mom to start pulling out the things that I see in her. And so that is the struggle of the parent, is to look at each one as an individual, like you only have one. Each one is unique and special. I don't have 5 kids. I have 5 individuals, 5 with their own destiny and their own plan and their own path. And just because I'm taking this one and this one is going down this path, the next one isn't going to necessarily follow any of that course at all. They're going down a whole nother path. Each child has been born with their own calling and their own unique things. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is that don't try to push them to be like each other. Don't compare them to each other. Don't say, well, why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be like your sister? Because when you do that, you are devaluing their uniqueness and the way that they are created and the way that God has made them. They are made perfectly for the calling that He called them to. It is most likely not even going to be like you. I have 5 kids, and even though one is like me, he still is not 100% like me. He has a personality similar, but not his heart. I'm a girl and he's a boy, and he's tough and rough, and I can cry and sympathize with people and minister to people and differently than he can. So we're all unique and individual, and it's our job as parents to find out what your child is called to and help them get to that place. And so that's the third thing I would say, is ministering children. Look at them as an individual. Look at them as unique. Find out what gifts and callings they have within them, and then take them to the next level. One of my children absolutely is very musical, loves music. And that's the area we're spending the money, and we're pointing her toward that, in that direction. I have my other daughter is amazing at drama, and I cannot believe at 9 years old she can be so expressive and do drama. And so that is the area that right now we're spending time with her, pointing her in that direction. And so just remember to, even though it's a juggle, especially the more children you get, each one you need to spend a little time and just make sure that you're giving them what they need to keep moving forward toward the destiny that God has called them to. And one day, they will be grown up and they will be out of the house, and they will be, we call it launching them forward, pointing them the right direction and launching them forward, and then watching what God does with them. So as long as we prepare them, get them ready, and help them the best we can to go toward what they have been called to do, then we've done our job. And then the rest is up to them and God. And of course we pray and we love them and we continue to support them every way we can. But that is, I think, the third thing that is in my heart, is to look at your kids as individuals, launch them forward, love them, and do the best you can to allow God to mold them into who He made them to be, not who you want them to be. Because then they can go forward and be prosperous and achieve things in life that no one else can. Because they're doing what they were individually made to do. So I'm going to turn this back over to Elisa. And if you guys have comments or questions, feel free. I can answer those for you. And so thank you guys. I love you guys. And I just pray that as parents that you have what it takes to minister to your children. And just keep moving forward. We're not perfect. None of us are perfect. So don't worry about that, because there ain't a perfect parent out there. But we all move forward to do our best and learn new things that will work for our family. So anyway, be blessed. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.